The Velocet owner has returned with a bit more work. He's uprated the clutch on his bike and now has problems with clearance in the primary chain case. He wants to reduce the amount the oil seal protrudes into the casing. And the only way I could come up with an idea was to machine out the oil seal holder, fill in the hole and mount it to the back of the casing with bolts. It can then be shimmed out with either spacers or gaskets to the required depth. The best idea I could come up with was to mount it on a rotary table in the milling machine. Hopefully using this method I can machine out the seal boss and still leave a concentric hole in the casing. But first I drill 6 holes so that the seal boss can be clamped back into the casing later. Rotating the table through 60 degrees for each hole, this should give the desired spacing. With the 6 holes drilled, I moved the cutter out to the desired diameter and started to machine out the seal boss from the casing. This took a bit of time because I used the same cutter as I used for the drilling of the holes. It's a bit fragile for this sort of work, and with hindsight I should have gone up to a bigger cutter. But eventually the cutter broke through, and with great care and keeping an eye on the casing so it didn't snatch or distort, the boss came out. A suitable piece of metal was cut, the centre was marked and a diameter scribed to work to. Using the scribed line, the excess was removed with a set of shears. This was just so I could hold it in the chuck a bit easier. It was bigger than the required amount, so it could be machined later. The centre was then machined out to receive the original boss. After getting the desired fit, the two parts were clamped together, and the clamping holes were then transferred across, drilled across into the new plate. It was then replaced in the lathe, and the outside diameter was machined to match the hole left in the primary case. It was then carefully positioned back in the primary case and TIG welded using a stitching pattern to try and avoid distortion in the original case. The seal boss was then clamped into place with 6 bolts. These were TIG welded on the inside of the casing to become captive bolts. The size of the head of the bolts was also reduced to give a bit more clearance. Works better with the earth clamp in place as well. And there we are. The boss can now be removed, shims inserted to give the required clearance. Thanks for watching.